As a passionate sailor, I have experienced many exciting and thrilling moments on the water, but nothing could have prepared me for the terrifying experience I had on my last sailing trip. It all started on a beautiful summer day. My friends and I set sail on our boat, eager to explore the open seas. We were well prepared, with all the necessary safety equipment and supplies on board. We set our course for an uncharted island that we had heard rumors about. It was said to be a place of incredible beauty, with crystal clear waters and lush vegetation. As we sailed, we were surrounded by the vast expanse of the ocean, with nothing but the sound of the wind and the waves to keep us company. The sun was shining, and the weather was perfect. We were all in high spirits, excited for the adventure that lay ahead. But as the day went on, the weather started to change. Dark clouds rolled in, and the wind picked up, causing the waves to grow larger and more violent. We tried to turn back, but it was too late. A fierce storm was upon us, and we were at the mercy of the elements. The boat was tossed and thrown by the waves, and we were struggling to keep it afloat. We were all terrified, and it seemed as if the storm would never end. As the wind howled and the waves crashed against the boat, I couldn't help but think that this might be the end for us. We had all heard of the legends of this area, known for its unpredictable weather and strange occurrences. But we thought it would be an exciting adventure. We never thought it would turn into a nightmare. We tried to stay calm and focused, but it was difficult to think straight with the boat being thrown around like a toy. The waves were towering and the winds were fierce. We were all drenched and freezing cold, our clothes were sticking to our skin and our hair were in tangles. Just when we thought things couldn't get any worse, a huge wave hit the boat, causing it to capsize. We were thrown into the water, fighting to stay afloat in the raging seas. We searched frantically for the life rafts, but they were nowhere to be found. The boat had sunk and our supplies and communication devices were lost with it. As we clung to the overturned boat, we could see the island in the distance, but it seemed like an impossible task to reach it. We were stranded in the middle of the ocean, with no way to call for help. We spent hours in the water, fighting to survive. The storm had passed, but the waves were still rough and the water was freezing. We were exhausted, cold, and hungry. Our spirits were low, and we had given up hope of ever being rescued. The sun was setting and the sky was turning orange. It was a beautiful sight, but it only reminded us of how far we were from civilization. We knew that if we didn't make it to the island or get rescued soon, we would be stranded in the middle of the ocean until we succumbed to the elements. We made a makeshift raft using the remains of the boat and whatever we could find floating in the water. It was a rough and unstable raft, but it was our only chance of reaching the island. We paddled with all our strength, our arms were sore and our bodies were numb with cold. But we kept going, driven by the hope of survival. Just as the night was falling, we finally reached the island. We dragged ourselves onto the shore, exhausted and relieved. We set up a fire and huddled around it, trying to warm ourselves up. The island was not as beautiful as we had heard. It was rocky and barren, but it was a safe haven. We spent the night on the island, taking shelter under a rocky overhang. We were still cold, hungry, and thirsty, but we were alive. The next day, we searched the island for any signs of life, but it was uninhabited. We found a freshwater stream and caught fish for food. We used the remains of our boat to make a shelter and signal fire. It took 3 days for a rescue team to find us. They had been alerted by our signal fire. We were airlifted to safety and received medical attention. We were all in shock, but we were alive. We were grateful for the rescue, but we were also filled with regret. We should have heeded the warning signs and not ventured into such a dangerous area. It was a harsh reminder of the power of the ocean and how easily things can go wrong. That experience changed us all. It humbled us and it made us realize how fragile life is. We were lucky to have survived, but we will never forget the terror and the lessons we learned that day. We will always respect the ocean and its unpredictable nature. always been fascinated by the ocean and its secrets, so when I heard about the opportunity to go on a deep-sea diving expedition to explore a shipwreck, I jumped at the chance. The ship, the SS Artemis, had been sunk during World War II and had lain at the bottom of the ocean for over 70 years. The expedition was being led by a renowned deep-sea diver and explorer who had spent years researching the ship and planning the dive. We set off on a state-of-the-art research vessel, equipped with the latest technology and safety equipment. The journey to the shipwreck took several days, and as we approached, the excitement on board was palpable. The team of divers were all experienced and excited to uncover the secrets of the SS Artemis. As we arrived at the location of the shipwreck, we geared up in our diving equipment. The water was cold and dark, and as we descended, the pressure increased. But nothing could prepare us for what we saw when we reached the ship. The SS Artemis was a massive vessel, and it was clear that it had been through a great deal of damage. It was covered in seaweed and barnacles, and it looked as if it had been through a battle. As we swam through the ship, we couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and respect for the sailors who had been on board. We explored the ship for hours, taking photographs and making notes of our findings. The ship was full of debris, and it was clear that it had been through a lot. We saw remnants of the crew's quarters, and it was heartbreaking to think of the lives that were lost on that fateful day. As we made our way to the lower deck, we came across something that caught our attention. It was a door that was sealed shut, with an inscription on it that read "Access Restricted." Our team leader explained that the door had been sealed for over 70 years, and no one had ever been able to open it. We were determined to find out what was behind that door. We used all the tools at our disposal to try and open it, but it was no use. The door was sealed tight and wouldn't budge. Just when we were about to give up, one of the divers noticed something. There was a small keyhole on the door, and it looked like it had been recently opened. We were all puzzled. We didn't have a key, and we didn't know how someone could have opened the door. We decided to investigate, and we swam back to the surface to inform the captain of our discovery. He was intrigued and immediately sent a team of divers to open the door. They used specialized equipment and finally managed to open the door. As we entered the room, we were greeted with an eerie sight. The room was empty, but there were strange symbols and markings on the walls. They looked like they had been made recently, but it was clear that they were not of human origin. We were all confused and didn't know what to make of it. We continued to explore the room, and that's when we saw it. In the corner of the room, there was a small, glowing orb. It was unlike anything we had ever seen before. The orb seemed to pulse and change colors, and it was clear that it was not of this world. We were all mesmerized, and we couldn't help but stare in wonder. Suddenly, the orb began to move towards us. It was as if it was alive. We tried to swim away, but it was too late. The orb engulfed us, and we were pulled into a vortex of light and energy. When we emerged, we were back on the research vessel, but it was clear that something had changed. We were all filled with a sense of peace and understanding, as if we had been given a glimpse into the secrets of the universe. We returned to shore, but we were never able to explain what had happened on that dive. Some of us believed that we had been visited by extraterrestrial beings, while others thought it was a supernatural experience. But for me, it was a reminder that the ocean is full of mysteries and wonders that we may never fully understand. We couldn't wait to share our findings with the world, but when we got back to shore, we found out that the shipwreck had disappeared. The location was empty and no trace of the SS Artemis could be found. The team leader explained that it was probably due to the ocean currents, but we all knew that it was something more. We were all left wondering what had happened, what was behind that door, and what was the purpose of that glowing orb. We knew that we had uncovered something extraordinary, but we couldn't prove it. The experience was like a dream, but it was something that we would never forget. The expedition had been a success in uncovering new information about the shipwreck, but it had also left us with more questions than answers. It was a reminder of how much we still have to learn about the ocean and its secrets. I knew that I would never stop searching for answers, and maybe one day, I would find out what truly happened on that dive.